Hello everyone, my name is Adelie Marie Mendoza and I will be starting off with the first question. So first question is, why do you want to become a teacher and what do you anticipate will be the greatest challenge in preparing to become a teacher? So I would love to become a teacher because I've had a kindergarten teacher. Her name was Miss Williams. I still remember her till this day. She was amazing. She was a great teacher. She helped all the students and she was just a really nice individual overall. She loved being there for her students and she really inspired me to become a teacher, through the grades like first grade, second grade, third grade. They will always ask us, what do you want to become when you grow up? And I would always say a teacher, always because of Miss Williams. And she was just amazing and she's inspired me to become a teacher and to help all those students and to build those connections. And I would really love to follow in her footsteps. She was just a great inspiration. And number two, what do you anticipate will be the greatest challenge in preparing to become a teacher? I would say all the responsibilities that become a teacher, like lesson planning, parent communication, setting those rules and expectations. I feel like that's a lot for a first year teacher, but as the years go on, we'll get the hang of it. But as a first year teacher, that's what makes me nervous, especially parent communication. I want the parents to be involved in their students' lives, and just communicating with parents is making me a little bit nervous. But those are the challenges that I feel like I will have in becoming a first year teacher. And third question, I'm sorry. Tell us about a time that you received a professional feedback that surprised you or that you disagreed with. What was the feedback? How did you respond? So I was a para, and the teacher in the room, she was on vacation. So I was that teacher in the room, and my principal, she came to observe me. And this is a time where I was in my residency, so I would have observations for my mentor teacher and my professor. And my teacher was out, she was on vacation, so my principal came to observe me one day, and she saw the way I handled the class, she saw the way I did the lessons, she saw the way I set expectations and rules. And after she observed me, she left, and then she came back when the kids were in PE, and she told me that I did amazing, that I set great expectations and rules, that the kids were listening, the kids were engaged, and she really enjoyed how I handled the class without the teacher being there. And that really surprised me because I was really nervous for her to be in there observing me. But once she told me I did amazing and that I did great, it was like this feeling inside me like, oh wow, like I could do this, I could be a great teacher, I know I can. I just have to keep practicing with my mentor teacher, asking her questions. I have to keep talking to my professor about things I could do inside the classroom, different things I could do. And once my principal told me that feedback, it was really nice hearing, and it really surprised me because this was my first time without my teacher being there, and it was my first time being in there by myself. So I was really nervous, and when she told me that, it just surprised me, and I felt amazing when she told me that feedback. Okay, fourth question. How would you help a student that is struggling to learn a topic that you are teaching? That is a good question. You can scaffold the learning for them. I would scaffold the learning for them. I would use small group, I would use visual aids, hands-on learning. Sometimes the students have different learning needs. They could be hands-on, they could be visual, all sorts of things. So finding that that learning need that the student needs is very important, and it will help them succeed and grow in that topic. Asking them questions, finding out what they're struggling in that area. They can be struggling in many things, so learning what they're struggling in could really help you focus on what you need to adapt your teaching to. And especially if a lot of students are getting it, then you would have to adjust your learning. So if something the teacher isn't doing right, especially if all kids aren't learning the topic, But if one student is learning, then I would definitely use small group and use many like visuals, hands-on, asking them questions about what specifically are they getting. And yeah, small group can really help the student, especially one-on-one, and taking time out throughout the day would really help them. And number 5, how would you respond to a following situation? A student is being disrespectful to you. How would you respond? Most importantly, never take it personal. The disrespectfulness can come from many ways. It can come, the student might be struggling at home with something with their personal life, something that they're struggling with, and they haven't, disclosed that information with anybody yet. And I would talk to the student privately, outside the classroom, away from other students, and be like, hey, what's going on? Is there something you want to talk about? Let's get this situation settled. I would tell them, the way you were acting wasn't really nice, but, we're going to talk about these things and see if there's any way we can make you, feel better, if there's any way we can make your situation better, just to let them know that I'm here for them. And most importantly, never take it personal. The student can be going through a lot, especially at home. So, just letting the student know that you're there for them, and, that they can talk to you about anything, at any time they want. Especially being a teacher, you have to be there for your students a lot. And, letting the students know that you're there for them is really important. So, just never take it personal and always talk to the student. Thank you, guys.